All right, guys. So to make this video today, I want to show you guys where I took my trades, where I exited, and my recap of the day and kind of what to expect for tomorrow. So on the day today, it was a very interesting day. I actually held puts overnight from Tuesday over onto today, Wednesday, and I decided to hold that for the following reasons. So at the end of the day on Tuesday, we had this beautiful sell-off on the 6 hour time frame for ES, providing us with a higher low, a lower low, and another higher low. And the way that the candle closed on Tuesday was very bearish. We got a higher low, we got a huge wick from below, providing us with a ton of weakness in this area. And because of this downtrend that's been consistently held on the 6 hour time frame, I couldn't help but take this trade in hopes that we'd go for a lower low, which we obviously did. On top of that, on the daily time frame, we got a higher high here, a lower high here, but then a failed higher high, and instead a higher low with a lower low and a bearish engulfing all in the same candle, suggesting some continuation to the downside, which is in fact what we got. So I held that trade overnight and sold it this morning for a really good profit. Now, the way that I decided to take this trade today was very simple. So at 6:15, I was keeping a very close eye on the market because I wanted to see whether or not we would get some continuation to the downside right at 6:30, so right at open. So right at open, or sorry, at 6:15 a.m., the 6:15 candle on the 50-minute time frame provided us with a higher low and a lower low and a bearish engulfing on the 15-minute, suggesting that the trend on towards the downside was holding very strong. And this also provided us with confirmation that we would most likely see a further sell-off as the market opened up. So at 6:30, which is this candle right here, that entire first candle of the day was red, and we sold off the entire first 15 minutes of the day. So basically, right when that candle closed, I decided to sell my position from the previous day. I took a very nice profit on that, and I was happy with that. And very shortly after that, we decided to go up and then carried on with the rest of our day. So that was the first trade of the day. Now, the second trade of the day came at 6:45, and I took that on SPX. So I'm going to kind of show you exactly why I took that trade. So on the 1 hour time frame for SPX, we had a same high from the previous day, followed by basically a lower low, which was confirmed by, believe it or not, this is a a daily support level for me on SPX, 47.33. Perfect respect of that level. Very nice. Now, on the 50-minute time frame, right, we had our lower low on the 1 hour. So what I was expecting to see next was a higher low. Now, the most logical place for us to go for a higher low on the 1 hour time frame was our previous lower low, which was this area right here, 47.52 area. So was I expecting us to go all the way up? Potentially. That I was keeping myself open to the idea of us going all the way up to 47.52 for a retest. Now, I decided to take calls for the following reason. So once that first candle on the 1 hour closed on the day at 7:30, on the 15-minute time frame, we had this mega bearish candle. The reason why I say mega bearish is because in a typical situation, this is a trade that I would take. We had a higher low, and we had this huge wick to the downside, suggesting weakness in the area. But the reason I didn't take it was because the size and strength of the previous candle was so bullish to me that in order for me to get into puts immediately after something like that, I would have wanted to see a bearish engulfing candle. or a break of our previous lows, which was down here. And we didn't get that. And to be fair as well, the 1 hour candle closed. This wasn't a very convincing higher low to me. Like, this was a very weak higher low. I was definitely expecting a much bigger move to the upside for a higher low than that. That was really small. I was expecting way more than that. I was expecting at least a retest of my first level here at 47.40. So what I did is I waited, and we got this confirmed lower high here on the 15. We didn't get a higher high, but we got a huge wick from above, suggesting that, there's a lot of strength in this area, and the market is more than likely going to go for a higher low here on the 1 hour. So I took this. This was a risky trade, very risky, because you have to understand, on the 6 hour and the daily, we're in a downtrend. So the major time, and in the 1 hour, the 1 hour is also in a downtrend. So the 1 hour, the 6 hour, and the daily are all in a downtrend. So basically, I took this trade banking on the fact that we were going to go for a higher low on the 1 hour. So this was a scalp. This was a very fast trade. My take profit was the following: 47.40, 47.45, and then a retest of our previous lower low, which was right here. So 47.52. Granted, we didn't hit any of those levels besides the first one. So what I did is, as soon as we hit the first take profit, I sold a few contracts. Then, in hopes of hitting the second take profit, I was going to sell more contracts. But I had a very specific rule with this. If at any point we retest my previous take profit, I would sell everything. So right at the 845 candle, we decided to come crashing down hard. We retested my previous take profit, and I sold everything. So that was a profitable trade. It wasn't a big trade, but it was a green trade, and that's all that matters. So on the following trade, this was a very easy one. Anyone could have taken this. The following trade was taken around 9:30. Very, very easy to tell why. We had a huge higher low, lower low, and a bearish engulfing on the 1 hour, suggesting continuation to the downside. Not hard to see why I took that trade. I waited a little bit for it to pull back to my daily. So once we hit 4733, that's when I bought into it, because I wanted to get a little bit bigger of a move. So once that pullback happened, I bought in at 4733, and my take profit was 4721, followed by my support down here, which is a daily, 4713. Now, same thing as before. As soon as we hit my first take profit, I sold a few contracts, and then I held the remaining contracts in hopes that we'd hit this level here. That never happened. The moment that it pulled back to 47.21, I decided to sell everything else. Great idea, because we never actually retested those lows ever again for the rest of the day. So that was my third trade of the day right there. Now, I did take another one as well. So at 11:30, we had a 1 hour candle close green. So what this told me is that, okay, we got a lower low confirmed. Now we're going to go for a higher low. So we're either going to go higher and retest our previous lower low, which is going to be 47.33, or this is the highest that we're going, and now we're going to go for a lower low. The reason why I decided to take the risk and get into calls was because on the 15-minute time frame, at the exact same time that the 1 hour candle closed, literally the same time frame, okay, we got this perfect lower high and higher high and bullish engulfing on the 15-minute time frame. Literally a trend change confirmation right as the 1 hour candle closed, telling me that before we sold off any further, we would more than likely go for a higher low. So my trade and my idea, my analysis was to take profit as soon as we retested our previous lower low, and that's exactly what I did. Very quick trade. This was a scalp. I was in this trade for like 15 minutes max. So as soon as we got into that trade, I bought into it at 11:30. As soon as we went up and retested our previous lower low, which was this area right here, that is exactly when I sold. So as soon as the wick touched, was right here, I sold, and then immediately after, we actually decided to sell off. And funny enough, on the 5 minute as well, we made a higher low and a lower low, which told me that, okay, the buying pressure was finished. It was done. So very good idea to get out at the time that I did. Now, I did take one more trade as well to finish off the day. This was a very risky trade too. So on the 6 hour time frame for ES, I'm going to explain why I took it. But on the 1 hour on SPX, I'm going to explain here why first. So on the 1 hour time frame, to finish off the day, we got a very nice lower high with a higher high and a bullish engulfing all in the same candle with a tremendous amount of buying pressure coming in at the last minute there. This candle completely broke the trend structure on the 1 hour, taking us from bearish back to bullish. What this told me is that on the futures, if you take a look, we had a beautiful lower low. Look how weak this final candle was on the day. What this told me is that we're more than likely going to go for a higher low, and a retest of our lower low is the most logical place for us to go for a retest for the higher low before we go for another lower low. So my take profit for this trade is 47.86 with some resistance being taken on at 47.76. So I do believe, based on the price action and the way that we closed off the day today on SPY and SPX, I do believe that tomorrow we are going to gap up and we are going to create a higher low on the 6 hour time frame. At which point, once we hit 47.86 or potentially 47.76, one or the other, we are either going to continue to push on higher and go for a higher high, or we're going to reject and come down and go for another lower low on the 6 hour. That is what I believe is going to happen. And I'm very confident in that, mainly because of how the day finished off on the 1 hour for SPY. We had a very bullish end to the day on SPY. And on top of that, we have a pretty significant gap as well on SPY that needs to get filled. So right now, this price is slightly oversold. So there's countless reasons as to why I took that. This is a risky trade though. So if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. I didn't add a huge position size to this because it is risky. We're trading against the dominant trend, right? Which is bearish. The 6 hour and the daily are bearish. So this is not something that I would usually do unless I'm very confident in the setup. This setup looked really good to me, so I took it. So with that being said, guys, I took 4 trades today, 4 W's. This fifth trade that I took here, I haven't closed it off yet. I plan on closing it off tomorrow, depending on how it sells off and depending on how it plays out. So with that being said, I do hope this video helped out and gave you kind of an idea of where I took my trades, why I took them, why I sold them, and kind of to give you a better idea of my analysis and how it works. I trade using multiple time frames, right? So when I'm trading, I'm looking at everything. I'm looking at the 15-minute. I'm looking at the 1 hour. I'm looking at the 6 hour. I'm looking at the daily. I'm looking at the 5-minute. I'm looking at 5 different time frames when I'm trading. When I'm trading, I want to make sure that all 5 time frames are confluent with my bias, and that is my analysis, right? I want to make sure everything is confluent with each other. Everything is telling me the same story. And if for some reason something doesn't look good on one of those time frames, I don't want to get in. I don't get in. That's my rule. If one of those time frames is off in any way, I don't get into the trade. Everything needs to be the way I want it to be on all 5 time frames for me to consider even getting into the trade. So I'm very picky with my setups. I'm very picky with my trades. But honestly, as a day trader, that's the best way to be. You want to wait for the perfect setups, not mediocre setups. You want to wait for the perfect setups. So anyways, guys, I hope that video helped out, and I hope that provided you with some insight onto my analysis and how it helps. I think one day what I'll do is I'll actually make a video explaining my analysis a little bit better. But besides that, I hope you guys have a great day.